Since independence in 1960, politics in Nigeria have been more than the quest for governance. It has shaped the way we live, the way we dream, and even the way we fear. From military coup to democratic transitions, politics has been the stage where power, ambitions, and identity collide. But as much as politics has determined who leads, it has also shaped who suffers. Elections, ideally the symbol of democracy, have often been marred by violence, vote buying, intimidations, and broken promises. And who bears the weight of this? With over 60% of Nigeria's population under the age of 25, young people are not just observers, they are the muscles, the crowd, the majority voters. Many are recruited as thugs during campaigns, lured with money, or manipulated by ethnic and religious divides. Others, despite their education and potentials, are sidelined from leadership, their voices drowned by the echoes of old guard. In Nigeria, politics and security are inseparable. Political rivalries have fueled electoral violence, while weak governance has left communities vulnerable to bandit, insurgency, and kidnapping. In many cases, politicians have been alleged of weaponizing insecurity, arming vigilantes, empowering cult groups, and even turning blind to violence that serves their interest. But the truth remains: the stability of Nigeria depends on how politics treats its youth, its election, and its people. The answers lie in the choice we make, the leaders we choose, the courage of Nigerian young people to redefine the nation's political story. Hello and welcome to 360 Youth Dialogue. It's here we talk about the youth, talk about issues affecting the youth. And like I always like to say, if it's affecting the youth, we're talking about it here on 360 Youth Dialogue. My name is Juliet Omura, and it's such a pleasure to have you again on this episode. This episode, we're talking about politics. How politics shares and shapes youth and electoral security. And joining me for that conversation, I have a new age politician, a young politician, an aspiring politician, just whatever you want to tag it. But he is a passionate politician in Rivers State. You're welcome, Prince Glory Ogechi Amadi. Give it up.
You deserve a round of applause.
Thank you so much for joining me here.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, okay, let's start with your story. What's your story behind, what inspires you in politics? How did you get into politics? What's your story so far in politics?
Okay, I first of all, I drove from, I'm an economist from American University, and having experienced Nigeria, traveled, I find that in many ways we can do better for ourselves as a people. And everything rests and falls upon leadership. So if we can get leadership right, perhaps every other thing is going to fall in place. And I decided to take it upon myself to present something for proper leadership, an alternative for proper leadership. And who better to do this than yours truly? And here we are. It's been a journey. It's been a journey.
So can you take us through that journey? But before you take us through the journey, you said an alternative for leadership. What's that alternative for leadership?
There's no gainsaying that we have a critical mass of our people who have lost confidence in what we find to be leadership today. It's sad, and some of these voices are being heavily what's the word now? Suppressed. You see, and we are trying rather to get some of these voices heard. and agitate for certain causes, get the voices of our people out there, particularly those persons who feel, marginalized, those persons who feel oppressed, in many ways, I believe that we can still get proper leadership.
I mean, I believe so, and I think that's why Youth 360 is here, to give voice to the youth. Because I always like to say, it's enough for the old people to talk, but giving the young people the voice, the mic, the audience to speak, it gives them that sense of belonging and should I say, the motivation to actually lead tomorrow. Like they say, we're the leaders of tomorrow, hopefully. And then your journey so far, what would you term it? Would you say it's been rosy? I mean, from palace to post, or from post to palace? How would you define it?
I doubt that there's one phrase that best captures my journey.
Okay.
I'd say it's been dynamic. I've been dynamic in my pursuit, and I'm still looking forward to. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of hope. Yes, this comes with a lot of mixed feelings as well. Youths are really concerned with how we can really be those leaders, tomorrow's leaders today.
Yes, I get that part.
Yeah.
Okay, so other than politics, if you were not doing politics, what would you be pursuing?
I'd like to support non-governmental activity in the interest of our people. There are so many areas where reorientation can come in and better improve upon people's lives. The non-governmental organizations, foundations that support better living, welfare structures for our people. The concept of global welfare is still being argued, and it's a problem. Here, in our country, we're having to deal with people who, a lot of persons are falling below the poverty line, and it's a challenge because, there's a lot of gray areas with economic activity, and people have a hard time plugging in. And then there's a lot of challenges with, technology coming in, and so I feel like there are a lot of areas that one can really give back to society, but I strongly feel like leadership.
Leadership is your calling. Like they called you from the womb
It has to be
to
leadership.
lead.
Yeah, it has to
I
be
mean,
leadership.
that's so much. And okay, let's jump into the main topic: how politics has shaped, the youth and electoral security. We hear of violence, and once people talk about politics, they say, "Oh, politics is a dirty game," and this and this. So, what's your perspective when it comes to politics? Or will you define politics as?
Politics for me is pretty much, the term just captures an avenue for which we can interact and, become proper people, become a proper people. Nothing happens without leadership. It's as old as time. People must be led. Someone must lead. People must follow. Things have to be. Life really is structured around leadership and followership. Let's narrow down to say a microcosm of an economy, being the family. The family structure has a leadership that allows for it to thrive, to operate. Say the mother and father are leaders. Children would follow. They follow. This allows for the house, a home, to evolve, to grow, and everybody gets to develop on their levels. So just drawing from that, leadership really, in many ways, helps politics and leadership.
They go hand in hand for you.
Yes.
So to you, leadership is politics, and politics is leadership.
Yes, that's what it should be.
Exactly. I like the fact that you say that's what it should be, because I was coming to ask you, okay, in Nigeria, is politics leadership?
Well, incidentally, we tend to practice a kind of politics that is not exactly practiced in some really, some parts of the world that have recorded some tremendous success. leadership-wise or politics-wise, if you may. Nigeria's practice is
Quite different.
quite different.
So what would you say that, because I want you to really take me through politics like you've witnessed it firsthand.
Okay.
I want you to really take me through politics. How would you define Nigeria politics as a whole?
Well, it won't take away the fact that we're still infantile politically.
Okay.
Democracy is, we're still developing our democracy. And, around this time, there seems to be a lot of gray areas with our constitution. Constitution really determines how, leaders in certain capacities execute or administer, and I think some of these things can be resolved over the period if leaders genuinely go about their affairs and, people are not left behind. It's a little toxic now for some reason. It's there's a lot of challenges, particularly with youth trying to come on board and, make up for that lag. We have the concept that younger people may be more, may give more. So there's a challenge now with younger people coming on board and trying to correct some of the anomalies with our own style of politics here. And then this, the security situation in Nigeria, I believe that a lot more work will be needed to be done in that regard to enable for us to thrive as a people.
So you made mention of Nigerian politics being toxic a bit, and then you made mention of the security aspect. But in Nigeria, I feel like almost everything is politicized. Looking at politics, actually, like you say, it drives how a country is being, run. Everything in Nigeria is virtually politicized. Why is that so? Like even down to, okay, let's share something. Just somebody just brings something now between me and you. We're already looking for, okay, who is the leader here? Why is everything in Nigeria politicized, down to insecurity, down to education, down to literally everything? Why do you think so?
Okay, first and foremost, we're Africans.
Okay.
Yes, we as Africans, we draw from, we have our roots. A lot of, if you may, African tradition guide our decisions.
Okay.
Everybody has got that concept within them. Everybody comes from a family. The family you come from determine your cultures, your traditions determine how it shapes your character as a person. And so everybody has that at the back of their mind, that guiding principle that things ought to be done in a certain way. All right. So it's hard to take away the Africanness in us. So people tend to behave the way we should behave as Africans. Now, incidentally, we're drawing democracy from, it's not exactly an African thing. So we're trying to learn this new way of leadership.
Okay.
People still need to be reorientated. There's political apathy is as a result of people's poor understanding of this concept.
That's basically
basic.
how you could explain.
Yeah.
And then, should I say I like the fact that you did just streamline it to Nigeria. It's a Nigerian thing. It's a Nigerian people's thing. But I mean, Africa as a whole, I think we are bold, we're black, and we're domineering when it comes to our rights and everything.
Yes.
But, okay, let me justify that. Okay, that's why we like to politicize everything. But there are some certain things that should not be politicized.
True.
Let me not start mentioning. Okay. There are some critical certain things that should not be politicized. But let's go over to this. Politics is supposed to be a reflect of the will of the people, yeah?
True.
Like, we choose you. Like we say, everyone wants to dominate and everything. But we now come together and say, okay, let's choose this person as our leader. But in Nigeria, many say that when they choose this person, at the end of the day, they erode them of that their right and values and social norm. In your view, has politics influenced, the orientation of young people? How do young people now, how do you see politics, seeing that you've tasted, they've served you hot tea? So how do you, in your view, how has politics influenced young people's orientation to politics?
Uh, in terms of orientation, you see, I've come to find in my travels that it's seeming like the orientation across board is not exactly the same.
Oh, really
Yes,
interesting.
it's unique to it's exclusive to regions. The political practices in say let me Nigeria in say northern Nigeria, certain areas of northern Nigeria there seems to be the similarity with certain practices in say southern Nigeria, for instance, some southern regions in Nigeria, south Nigeria, the politics there is a little different, and the kind of challenges that youth may have to deal with, in some of these regions are different. So we find fewer young persons being involved in politics down south
Okay.
because of the peculiarity of the challenges in those areas. Up in the north, I won't speak too much,
For the
north, yes,
northern,
but
okay.
down south, there's a lot of conflicts in interest. Now, and I'm not saying interest now as a politician. I'm saying interest as a person,
Okay.
as an individual who draws from a certain ethnic group, for instance. People have different aspirations. People want to, you know, self-actualization for some reason. People want to be heard. I come from a minority ethnic group, for instance. I'm an Ikweri man. Yes, and there's a concept that the Ikweris are, a minority.
Okay.
Because
They don't belong to the majority.
the majority, and now so you can expect that, while we struggle to be heard, to be relevant, my interest may not exactly agree with, say, someone who draws from a majority ethnic group, for instance. You can imagine these nuances, these things happen. It happens to be what we have to deal with. You can't, the kind of support I may get may be limited compared to the kind of support, say, someone from a majority ethnic group may get. And so if I have to push something that, captures my interest, or the interest of my people, for instance, my group, all right, it may be a little different from those of, a majority politician, for instance. Now, how does this translate to the challenges with youth? You see, as young people, we learn every day.
Okay.
We learn from our superiors. Some of us are also open to learning from
The coming generation.
Yes, and everybody is concerned about how their activities today would inspire or would affect coming generations. People are concerned with what happens tomorrow. People are concerned with how tomorrow turns out. All right? And some of these concerns tend to draw people to doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing.
Okay.
Yes.
In what way?
For instance, the concept that some of our foremost concerns now is having leaders who are reliable, who are not how do I best put this? Leaders who have tomorrow's generation at heart,
Yeah.
and who would not do things that would injure coming generations while protecting their interest. And then the concept that you want to make yourself comfortable enough, that it's quite a challenge. Nigeria, I think globally we're having to deal with a lot of changes, economic changes, and people are really concerned how they are, protects livelihoods for them. So in the back of every young politician They're concerned with staying abreast, staying in in their pursuit, and then still securing, for tomorrow. So most of the time, you find that it's difficult to keep to maintain your own core, to keep your own thing going, while with many
Many interests and
interests,
clashing interests.
clashing interests as well. So it presents a real challenge for young people, and we don't exactly have the support of
The superiors. I mean, they
superiors.
call them the godfathers.
Yeah.
Supposedly, and it's not even supposedly. That's who they are. That's what they call them, and that's what drives. I think that's what, for me, that's what drives politics now in Nigeria. If you do not have the godfather, or you don't have the right sponsorship, you can't actually thrive in the political realm, especially as a young person. And speaking about your where you're coming from, you said you're coming from, the minority ethnic group, and looking at that, without you having the right, supposedly, godfather, I don't know how that would place you in the upper hand. Do you think this has affected your, should I say, your
Yes.
career as a politician?
Yeah, in many ways, you can't. Nigeria, the way Nigeria is structured, it's hard to really, thrive without a foundation, a base. Politically, it's almost impossible.
Okay.
You need to draw energies from, energy flows from a high concentration space to where it's low. You don't have all the young people. Young people hardly have energy to do stuff.
I mean, they have the energy, but they don't have the force.
Yes, all of that translates to energy.
Okay.
It's not just. I mean, it's not about your physical. You don't exert force to.
Yeah.
Leadership doesn't need. You don't exert kind of force. It's not that. Nah, it's energy. There's a lot of things you need to put in place. To drive public opinion, to push narratives, to change narratives. It's not really about your strength. No, it's not. That is beyond that. You need a lot of things in place. You need support. You must be funded. There are, media spaces that, get the messages across. And if you don't have what it requires to get on some of these platforms, pretty much would not be heard. So some of these are challenges of young people, aspiring politicians. And why this has become a challenge is because we have an age of politicians that seem to be phasing out gradually.
Okay.
And we need new politicians to come up and, cover for that lacuna. And if we don't have the right people, if we don't have people who really have, it's a thing. You must have a passion for this thing. You must have a passion for people. You must be deliberate about, making necessary changes here and there. Being impactful. You must. Without those core characteristics, it will be hard to thrive. Except, of course, you're not being true to yourself. So having people who meet these requirements and can push, can agitate, can, some of us have been have been agitators, agitated on several levels. I'm from River State, where, we have a suspended governor. We have, we had interests that seem to conflict amongst the political elite. Some of us have led protests. I had some comrades, the likes of Barry Sata. We pushed for certain changes, certain call to action on several levels for. I remember when we led the protests against the introduction of a sole administrator in River State and how that played out. On the one part, some persons argue that politicians are Nigeria's problems.
Okay, not the youth.
Yeah, some persons argue that
Okay.
the politicians are Nigeria's are the problems of society.
Okay.
But I I think I see it differently. The politicians are exactly the problem. It's the people that are the problem.
The people now we're talking about citizens.
Yes, the citizens. Because everybody wants to be heard. When we go to vote, we're trying to get our voice heard. We want to, you know, you see things in a particular light, and you want to get that message across to everyone else that this thing you're seeing is true. If you don't come out to, do what is necessary, come out to vote, for instance, you don't get your voice heard. If there's some foul play, for instance, in society, and you don't come out to protest, it is you who's doing yourself a disservice. Some of these instruments are already out there for people to exercise, to people to, be a part of the political process. Politics is a whole, it's all encompassing. The people have to play their role, the leaders have to play their role, everybody must play their role. If a politician is gone, is doing things that are not in accordance with, our norms, our societal norms, it behoves upon the people to rise up to the occasion and try to correct that.
All right. I mean, you said a lot, but we'll go on a short break and then we'll come back to this whole point. And I would want you to give us a light on, everybody wants to know what's happening in Rivers rather.
Okay.
Everybody wants to know what's happening in Rivers. We'll take a short break, and after that, we'll take an inspo on what's happening in Rivers with Prince Glory.
Have you ever been a victim of crime? Were you robbed, scammed, betrayed, or harmed, and left with a story the world needs to hear? Do you want to tell your story for impact and awareness? On True Crime Story, we let you speak with your safety and privacy respected. We give real people the platform to speak their truth. We're documenting true stories. Join us. Your voice could be the warning that saves someone else. Your story matters. If you've lived it, we're here to listen. Reach out to us through our social media platform at Third Eye Africa TV, or send us an email to share anonymously. Reach out to us through our social media handle at Third Eye Africa TV, or send us an email at thirdeyeafricatv@gmail.com to share anonymously. Follow True Crime Stories here on Third Eye Africa TV.
Hello and welcome back from that short break. If you're just joining us, you're watching 360 Youth Dialogue, and obviously we're talking about politics and how it has affected and shaped the youth and electoral violence and electoral insecurity in the country. And I've been having a wonderful, smooth talking conversation here with a new age young politician, aspiring politician. I won't call him aspiring. To him, he's aspiring, but I won't call him aspiring because he has tested politics firsthand and he knows what's about. So, Prince Glory, you're still on the show. Thank you for joining me here.
Thank you for having me.
So, let's talk more on, let's give us an inspo on Rivers. What's happening in Rivers? What would you classify Rivers politics? Just an inspo. Everybody wants to know what's happening in there.
Well, first and foremost, I feel pained that Rivers tends to be on the news almost on a daily basis, and not exactly for the best of reasons. We still have to do with the democracy being fragile. Now, in Rivers State, we have some political gladiators who have their own, their own pursuits, their own interests. And most of the time, these interests tend to come against the interest of the state. Yes. So we have people seeing things from a different perspective, and then we have political leaders seeing things from an entirely different perspective. And so those interests conflicting, would raise dust, would cause trouble here and there, would cause disagreements here and there, discord. All right. So River State is no longer news. A governor emerged, and for some reason there was a conflict of interest between him and his predecessor, who pretty much is his godfather. And we now have a sole administrator introduced through state of emergency by the president. And as a politician, I think I can understand what the president sought to do in River State in trying to broker peace, and to first forestall the development of an impending crisis that could have drawn out from the governor's impeachment. The impeachment proceedings were ongoing, and then the president came in, to save the day. Now, what we find is it's unorthodox. It isn't standard, but politically speaking, it can be, tolerated, all right, for peace purposes. The Rivers people understand, have come to understand really what, all of what may have played out had that intervention not been made. I understand that right now there's an armistice between the two warring foremost people.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that. How does that translate to peace amongst the people in River State? It's one thing to have peace amongst the leaders. It's another thing to have peace amongst their followers. And so when followers don't exactly share the same views as leaders, trouble would ensue. So what we have is there's peace at the top, but down below there isn't so much peace. There's still pockets of discord here and there. There are people who still feel marginalized. There's people who still feel they want to get, they would like to see a certain, some other outcomes, and all of this, are at play in River State as we speak. There's been a lot of argument as to whether there was just concluded elections in River State. I was part of the elections last year, and after the annulment by the Supreme Court, we all went back to try to, present with proper representation of our people at the local government level. But we find that there's been a lot of bias here and there. Yes.
Okay.
There's been a lot of, not everybody is comfortable with the outcome of the elections that just held. People are concerned with these antecedents and how they could, influence future outcomes, And I think it's important that our political elites look at these things from that perspective as well. Not just their interests, immediate interests, but the interests, the overarching interest of our people and moving forward, I could go into some more detail, but I'm trying to
to restrain.
Yes.
And then looking at, I think Wike, and then this morning I heard that they're moving forward to, calling off the state of emergency in Rivers. So I want us to focus a little more before we move forward more into politics. What really does this hold for Rivers politics and young politicians like you? Do you think it will pave the way for young politicians like you who don't, or who have, or who do not have the real godfathers or foundation, like you call it? So what future does this whole peace brokering have for young politicians?
Okay. Before I go into the meat of your question,
Yes.
let me just do some like a background information of what happened,
Sure.
particularly River State. You see, after the emergence of the governor, the immediate past governor of River State, and then the loss at the presidential, the PDP losing, it stirred up a certain kind of bitterness. Yes, a lot of persons felt, were embittered because of the outcome of the elections,
Okay, they didn't want him to win.
No, what I mean is, Wike, the honorable minister now, at the time, he felt troubled by the loss at the presidential level, all right? And now it's, there was the idea that a lot of persons, there was a conflict, there was a divide within River State, persons supporting and otherwise. And so I'm saying this because he drew the energy, he got support. The base for his emergence was hinged on the support he got from the president at the time. And without support, as a young person, you can't do much. We have a new governor who now got his support, but he's not allowed to be independent. It's one thing to get support; it's another thing to be allowed to exercise that leadership.
Exactly.
Exercise your, stamp your ground, get things done the way you believe. It's unique to your own
Ideology.
ideals. So the divide in River State is one that it raises a lot of concern. I think it raises a lot of concerns for persons across Nigeria.
Okay.
Rivers is a very unique state. We are unique people.
I mean, you hype your state now, obviously.
No, we don't. I mean, there's no question. All of what is playing out in Rivers State probably wouldn't play out in any other state in Nigeria. And the Rivers people are very unique people, very resilient people who have managed to maintain a certain kind of peace amidst all of this drama. Now, I say that peace relatively. Peace in the sense that people are seeing things from a higher perspective. I mean, things could go bad if, left unchecked. But Rivers people have maintained a certain kind of peaceful reception to these developments. I wish some of the leaders, some of the, players, could try to, adjust in their own, perspectives and, allow, the people's will to really prevail,
For you, that's like the whole thing. But the future, like when this whole, like you said, when this whole thing is over, the peace and everything, relative peace, supposedly, when it's over, do you think the young would still have that, the young people, I mean, would still have that courage to, go for politics, looking at what's playing that, okay, even if I give you that support, you have to dance to my tune. Do you think it gives the young people that morale to jump into politics?
Well, at the end of the day, everybody would is expected that you would, leadership is unique to the individual. It's you don't expect that if you were given such an opportunity to lead, you would do so exactly the way, say, a person like me would. All right, the governor, for instance, now suspended, had his own style of of leading the people. But you don't expect that everybody else would do things exactly the same way. So I don't think it douses, any of the fires for young people, because people would behave differently. People will react differently to different kinds of impulses. It builds upon you to determine what is ideal for you. Not everybody's going to be so peaceful.
Exactly.
The peace is as a result of the governor's disposition, and he's been able to, contain some of the warring, some of the very dynamic states. And people down there are not.
Yeah, they're not so. Finish the statement.
Excuse me, please. People are very dynamic. People are very dynamic, and peace in River State is very fragile. Yes, the concept of peace is a very touchy.
So
very,
a little
yes,
a little misaction or
yes, could stir up
word could stir up a lot of
some
things.
really chaotic outcomes. Yes, and I really applaud the manner at which people have, you know, there are varying ways to seeing it really. I pushed for protests when the sole administrator was introduced, for instance. I and including some of our persons, and it wasn't because we were challenging the president's peace initiative. We were saying, let the right things be done. There was certainly a way to introducing a state of emergency as such that the governor still remains governor, and some of those warring factions are, you know, the negotiations go on as to how you can manage the, you know, the situation of things. I believe there are better ways to getting, you know, achieving that objective without having to suspend the governor. But be it as it may, I'm sure that the president in his wisdom, who put all of this together, you know, would find a way to make it work. And this would not be destructive for future politics.
And then you said something that grabbed my mind now. And then you said something about politics being, the way politics was played in Rivers was to you, it was handled in a, should I use the word strategic way? But let's talk about politics being a game. Do you subscribe to that word, the statement that they say, oh, politics is a dirty game? Even young people are like, instead of me to join that dirty game, I would rather go to main market and sell something, or, you know, japa, as they say. So do you subscribe that politics is a dirty game? And then Jonathan, former president, Goodluck Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, came out today and he said that Nigerian politics is filled with liars and betrayal. So all this is giving should I say a negative aura to Nigerian politics. So do you subscribe to the whole statement?
There's no game saying politics is a game.
It is a game.
It is a game.
But is it a dirty game?
The question as to whether it's dirty or clean, I think is relative. Security is always a concern, but we can't take away the fact that insecurity is a challenge globally.
Okay.
All right. Yes, some states have to deal with less insecurity. Some states have to deal with heavy insecurity. And so how this translates to safety amongst politicians and in their practice of politics, who determines whether it's a dirty game or a
clean game,
like
they say.
As they would say. But what we find in Nigeria today, politics is quite a dirty game. Yes. Although there's a lot of progress with managing that dirt. All right. As we develop as a people, we find that people become, people accept, newer approaches to getting things done. People are concerned about safety. People are concerned about genuineness. People are concerned about there's quite a number of indices that determine how, what side of the divide you fall in. Some persons are playing dirty. Some persons are,
playing safe.
And it's your own approach that really determines how. But at the end of the day, it's our people, that will determine what should be. Democracy is for the people. People will determine what really should be obtainable here.
But in Nigeria, do you think we determine what's obtainable?
We're not doing enough as a people. The Nigerian people are not doing enough. That's the problem.
How? And why?
There's political apathy. people have a hard time coming out to get their voices heard. People have a hard time, deciding for themselves what should be and what shouldn't. People don't want to scrutinize leaders or potential leaders. People abdicate their responsibility as a people. We can't do without leadership. There's going to be chaos.
True, but don't you think why? I don't know. Let me take the side of the voiceless now,
Okay.
because you have the voice here. You're saying that people are the reason for
Yes.
whatever outcome that we
Yeah.
see in politics right
Yes.
now. But don't you think that this is happening because of the subtle maneuver of politics, vote buying, electoral violence, and all this? A lot of youth have been, what's the word now? They've been pushed away.
Conscripted.
Exactly. They've been pushed away from participating in politics when it comes to politics, because they're like, after all, my vote won't count. The last election, a lot of youth came out to vote. There were high number, new registration of voters. And at the end of the day, some people are like, I will never try that again. Some people are like, my vote, okay, after the presidential election, the governorship election and other local government elections that are held, people didn't bother to come out because they feel like, why would I come out to vote when my voice, like you say, your vote is your voice. Why would I come out to vote when my voice is never ever heard? When I come out to vote, I'm beaten. The last election we saw some brutal scenes and all that.
Yes.
So don't you think it's all this reason that silence the voice of the people?
Well, on the one part, everybody owes a responsibility a responsibility first to themselves, and then to society, to Nigeria. All right. If you decide to not come out to be a part of the process, you're doing that to yourself. It's a disservice to
In
yourself.
Nigeria, you do yourself.
Yes, you do yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. And so people must jettison the concept that, because it didn't quite work exactly as planned. Of course, there's always going to be a disagreement. There's always going to be a divide. People would have, some other persons will see things differently. Some persons will push to get their voices heard on a different level, or, pursue a different concept or a different ideology. That shouldn't deter your own pursuit, your own aspirations as a person. You love the president, support him. You don't love the president, make sure you get your voice out there heard. You all right? I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get the concept out there. People should rise to the occasion. If the system is failing, it's up to people to correct that anomaly. If people are not rising up to checkmate the system, there's a system that's at play. Yes, what happened at the 2023 elections was quite unique. All of what played out. Some of us didn't expect that the electoral umpire would have to deal with what they had to deal with eventually. Some of these things are still being argued. But moving forward, I'm optimistic that those failures, those gray areas will be, lit up. Those irregularities will be corrected, moving forward. I believe that there will be more transparency. And in the event that there's not proper there's not enough transparency, people should push.
So, see, there's something about when they say, oh, the young people are not holding the government accountable, the young people are not doing this, they're not saying this. How can that's always been my question. The people are not holding the government accountable, that this and this and this is not happening. The people are to be blamed. Politics is this, politics is not this. Because I went to a summit and they were saying, oh, no, the young people are getting it wrong. It's not by protesting that we should. I'm like, okay, how much more can we get? How can we get the attention of the politicians, of the government to actually focus on us? Do you get? So my question now to you is, because you're saying, okay, we're not getting it right. We should hold them accountable. Just how?
There was an NSAS protest that held some time ago.
Yes.
Was the protest a success?
To me, I will say it did have an effect, but it was disastrous.
Were we able to get a voice out there people came together, young people came together and said, this is what we want. And they moved the government to making certain reforms. To me, it was a success. Now, how that success is sustained, sustaining the success that we're able to achieve with the protests is another part of, it's not just protesting now, we're trying to sustain what we're able to achieve, and if possible, push for more. I want to go back to this system problem. We have a system problem in Nigeria.
Okay.
And there's no other way to manage this problem other than simply people rising up to the occasion. When you walk the streets of, say, Abuja, a lot of persons are not very happy with the status quo of things. The economic troubles, there's a lot of loss of interest, loss of confidence in government.
Exactly.
There's, now, incidentally, we always have people who would support that, things are all right and all that. But the person who's directly affected by some of those irregularities, some of the unfairness, because most of the time it's not exactly done, it's not deliberately done by a particular person, it's a system. But if the people who feel, affected by the failure of the system cannot at least mention, because you must find a way to mention. If you cannot get your voice heard as an individual, you must find a way to get your voice heard as a people. People must come together in groups, come together in cliques, people must come together in forums. People must find a way to reach out. The tolerance, we've reached, certain tolerance levels in this country, and it's remarkable. I don't know where else this happens, but I strongly feel like people should do more. Our people aren't doing enough, and we cannot continue to jettison that responsibility. We can't abdicate that. We must. It's not working. Keep trying. We have to find new ways to trying to correct the ills of the system. There's no other system. It's us who would correct whatever wrong. It's us who we can redesign the system. We can orientate our people. Yes, and I strongly believe the government would not shy away from a part of that responsibility. All right, and if the government is not doing enough, our people must press. There's no other way around it. There's no other way around it. There's no stroke of a magic wand to correct.
Exactly.
Yes.
There's no pill and everything is
it's
fine.
not going to happen. So our people are our problem. When there's a need to protest, people must come out to protest. When there's a need to, speak, people must come out and speak. That's just it.
So now, would you say the failure is on the system or on the people? Who does the failure or the fault lay more on? The people or the system? The people, now I'm talking about the youth, the young people, which make majority of the population in Nigeria.
Well, we have a poor system, truly. But whose responsibility is it to correct that system? It's the people. So if the people are not correcting the system,
At the end,
I think that
at this one, I'm going to just give it up for you, because you cannot take the people away from politics. I mean, you can't
have politics without people.
Without people, exactly.
You can't have democracy without people. But if you're trying to lead and people are not following, what do you do then? We have people who are seated in several levels of leadership, and they don't have people who can redirect, who can inform these decisions. The honorable minister doesn't know everything. The politicians don't know everything, and if you're not, trying to get them to see things from perspectives that they probably weren't seeing from before, then it's your own fault. It's not their fault. They've assumed certain levels of leadership. It's your own duty to find with. They are gathered around people. They're not in secluded.
Yeah, just isolated.
They're not isolated. the people around them will find a way to. You must find a way to work. That's the interaction. That's politics. That's the interaction that we need to influence change. There's no other way around it.
So let's talk about elections.
Okay.
Once elections are close by, we start hearing violence here, violence there, disruptions here, disruptions there. And the worst part is that majority of the voters, which are the young people, are still the same people they use for these thuggery activities and all that. What impact does this have on our democracy, number one? What impact does this have on the youth and on our security, on our democracy as people, on the youth, on our mentality, our mindset towards politics, and on the last one I said was on, pardon me, on our democracy,
On our democracy.
on our youth, and on just generally, anyways,
Okay.
and
When
on security.
on security, all right. Security is everybody's business. Security is everybody's business. Whenever there's elections, people, some youths who are not so, who aren't too informed, are conscripted into certain ills, certain malpractices. Interestingly, this is starting to, reduce because of people's awareness. People are becoming more and more aware. People are now taking, higher levels of responsibility towards achieving success in terms of leadership, finding the right people to lead. Because if you don't have the right people leading, you would have poor followership, and at the end of the day, it will be destructive for society. How does this affect people mentally, young people? Let me mention that the insecurity that that finds expression during elections is in many ways stirred up by hunger. Hunger is as a result of poor economic activity. The government must do more to engage its people. People must find means of livelihood legally, and the government. It really behooves upon the government to manage some of these, societal ills.
So let me ask a controversial question there. We said politics is a game, and then you said, why do young people engage in all this, violence during elections and all that is because of hunger, which is like the prime, because of socio-economic situation. Do you think politicians play or weaponize hunger during politics, during elections and all that?
Hunger has been weaponized. It is weaponized right now in Nigeria. We have political bigwigs who, take advantage of the hunger situation to, carry out certain objectives of theirs that tend to be in conflict with popular interests. There's no question. Hunger has been weaponized already.
So now let's talk about the negative impact of this. Do you think we can have, because you talk about orientation, reorientation. Do you think Nigerian youth can be reoriented on politics? And how?
We can be reoriented, yes. But we must first address the elephant in the room, being hunger.
Yes.
Yes. It will be hard to achieve successful reorientation if people are not comfortable to receive that orientation. That's one part. It's a matter of serious concern because it's rising. The concerns are rising. The fall shorts amongst people. I mean, in terms of meeting their daily needs, the UN poverty line, meeting that, at least reaching that gap. I mean, rising of poverty. It continues to, it's a serious concern. People continue to fall short of that line in Nigeria
As the day goes
as
by.
the day goes by. And how do we address this? I would say that it builds upon the government. Yes, people, regional governments, they are leaders. People must find a way to get their leaders accountable, to make a more favorable environment for economic activity, to enable people to earn more. That's, and then people. I mean, security has really a role to the security architecture. Determines how, for instance, farmers. Farmers are concerned with security in farms. If the farm produces don't get to, meet, the demand, there's a shortfall, price of goods increase. So it's a problem when there isn't proper adequate security. It's a problem when the government doesn't really create an enabling environment for people to, do all that work, to make livelihood for themselves, to make a living for themselves. And so I think that in many ways that's one of the government's it should be one of the government's core objectives at this time.
Exactly. To reorientate people's mind, especially the
Yes.
youth, should come from the government.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you've established the fact that there is no politics without people and there's no people without politics. I mean, there can be people without politics, but I doubt there can be people without politics. That's just my take.
Okay.
So if Nigerian youth are to break free from this whole being used as tools by politicians, how do you think they can do this? You already said, okay, hunger and all that. What if there's no food in the land, like the forthcoming election is coming forth and people are still crying of hunger and all that? So how can we break free? And to top that, I want you to give your message to the youth on politics.
Well, someone said those who fail to learn their history are bound to make the same mistakes in the future. We got here over the years, and it was due to our negligence as a people. It was due to our apathy as a people. And how do we correct this? What has gone wrong? If we neglected certain indices before this time, we must pay attention. We must rise to the occasion. We must take responsibility. Now, I understand the hunger is biting for some persons. People must still find a way in that, against all odds, to get their voices heard. People must try to be part of the process. People must try to get their voices heard. People must try to find a way to impact change. Yes, our people. At the end of the day, it really lies upon our people. The work of responsibility lies upon our people. There's not so much the leaders can do if the people don't follow suit.
So what's your one message for the young people watching you currently now? What's your one message on politics you would advise the people?
I would like for every young person out there to take responsibility for themselves and for everyone else. We owe each other a responsibility. I want people out there, young people out there, to be really concerned about who they rally around to lead them. Because at the end of the day, we must find people to lead us.
Very true.
And we should rally around. It's also important that we rally around younger people. And I think we should also scrutinize our people. We should do some more proper work in ensuring that we churn out the right set of leaders to lead, and hopefully would get things right.
I mean, that brings us to the end of this episode of 360 Youth Dialogue. Thank you so much, Prince Glory. You've spoken well. And I like to categorize each episode that the last episode, he was very expressive. You come with the calm vibe. I mean, the smooth vibe. Thank you so much for joining me here on 360 Youth Dialogue.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And to our wonderful audience, politics, will always shape society, either good or bad. It's based on the choice we make. Like he said, the person in seats determines how politics plays in a state. And he has made mention that politics is by the people. I mean, democracy is for the people,
It's
by the people,
people-based.
of the people. It's about the people generally. So how politics shapes the youth, how politics shapes electoral violence or elections or
Outcomes.
security at all costs has to still bounce back to the people, you and I. So for Nigerians, for the young people listening, you make politics what it is today. Be part of politics, participate, voting, participate when you call. Someone told me not just voting, go and
Get your voice
go and
heard.
get something done in your local government or anywhere. And that brings us to the end. I mean, I can keep talking about youth and politics, but let me off it there. Thank you so much for joining us here on 360 Youth Dialogue. My name is Juliet Onwura. Bye for now.